Hello, so let's have a look at Filius. And so how do we actually connect two local area networks together? So what we're going to look at now is the principle for essentially how the entire internet works. So in this example, you can see that I've just got a little screenshot here, and I'm going to have two local area networks. I've got this network on this side here, so we've got three computers. And we've got this local area network on this side. We've got three computers here as well. So these are two separate local area networks. They've got a switch so they can communicate between each other on their local area network. That's absolutely fine. But of course, if we want to connect two or more local area networks together, then we need to make use of a router, which can route traffic between different networks. So we've got two routers here. So you can kind of think of as this middle part as being like the rest of the internet. So there could be lots of other routers here connected, but for the purposes of this example, we've just gone with connecting two separate local area networks together. So these two local area networks are using private IP addresses. We can see those here. And so the address of this network on this left-hand side is 192.168.0.0. So every computer that's on this local area network will have a unique IP address that will be somewhere above 1 and below 255. So as I've got only three computers, that's absolutely fine. And on this side, I've chosen to go with 172.16.0.0. And you can see then that I've just chosen some unique IP addresses for those computers. The switches at level 2 don't need IP addresses. They just route traffic based on the MAC addresses, if you remember. But in order to transfer packets, data, whatever you want to call it, across between different networks, then we need to make use of these routers here. Okay, so this is the network that we're going to set up. Now, something that's also really important here is you can see that we've obviously got two connections going into each router. One to like the outside world or towards another network, and then one towards like the local area network. So this is very much kind of like what your multifunction device does in your house that connects you to your broadband connection. And even though there's only sort of like one wire here, this is counted as its own network in itself. So the network address that I've chosen for this extremely small network here is 34.52.21.0. Now, why did I pick that? Well, it's pretty much a random number, but it's also a public IP address. So if this part of the network here was actually the like public internet, then it would make use of a public IP address. So that's what I've chosen for this part here. So, okay, so let's go ahead and set this network up. So as you can see, I did a bit of planning first, and because if you get any of these numbers wrong by mistyping, then yeah, your network won't work properly. So, being accurate is really important with these numbers, because one wrong number can mean that that computer or that device doesn't work properly. So let's see if I can do this without any errors. We shall see. Okay, so let's minimize that. Okay, so blank Filius, make sure I'm in the editing mode. So I'll drag out my computers first for this side, for three computers there. And I might as well just do the three computers on this side as well. Of course, I'm just using three computers, but I could use like 33 computers if I wanted, but that'd take me much longer. Need a switch, one for each network there, and we need a router. Okay, now when I drop in a router, it says choose number of NICs or network interface controllers for this router. So I'm connecting my router to like the outside world, another network, and I'm connecting it to the internal network. So I only need two. So two is fine. I'll show you an example in a later video of one which has more than two. And so we also want two for this one as well. Okay, so each one of these routers has got two network interface controllers or cards. Right, let's connect that together with the cable. So we want that to that, that to that, that to that. So you can see it's really easy to make things in Filius. Okay, so there we go. So if I do a right click, that gets rid of my cable. Right then, so I need to start labeling things now. Okay, so I'll do my use IP address as name. So 192.168.0.10, that seems okay to me. And for this one, I'll go with, let's go with 11. That's a different number. Okay. And on this one, I'll go for 12. If you were doing this for an actual business, there might be a decision why you give a certain computer a certain IP address, but for this case, we're okay. So we've done 12 for that one and set use IP address as name. Okay, so we've got 10, 11, and 12. So the switch doesn't need an IP address, so that's fine. Now the router has obviously two connections, one going one way and one going the other. So you can click on the tabs down here, and I can see that this one has highlighted the line green, so I know that this is the one that's going to this network. So I need to give the router here an IP address on this connection going into it, an IP address on this network. So the default usually is to make it the number one. So your gateway to the outside world, your connection to your router will normally be set as number one. That's sort of convention. So I'm going to do 192.168.0.1. Okay, so that's set that 192.168.0.1. And so now what I need to do is I need to go back to these individual machines and set the gateway. So the gateway is essentially us configuring the computers to tell it that if it wants to speak to the outside world, it has to go through the gateway. So I'm going to put 192.168.0.1 on that one. And I've got to do the same for all of these ones as well. 168.0.1. And go away. And do the same here. 192.168.0.1. Okay, so now each of these three computers know that the IP address 192.168.0.1 is the gateway to another world, another interconnection. Okay, so what we also need to do then is we need to tell the router what to do with the traffic when it receives traffic from one of these computers that's intended for another destination. So what I'm going to do in this case is you can set up routing by filling out a table with the direction that you want different IP addresses to go in, but most routers come with the option of configuring automatic routing, in which case the router sort of like works it out itself using sort of like algorithms and software that's built into the software in it. So I'm just going to, for the ease, I'm just going to tick automatic routing. Right, so let's turn our attention to the network on this side. So this one was going to be, let's go here. So I'm going to pick a different public IP address range for this one. I'm going to go different private IP address, 172.16.0. Let's go with 5. And actually, while I'm here, I'm going to set this connection here to be 172.16.0.1 because that's going to be the gateway. So go back to that, use the IP address as the name, 172.16.0.5, that's fine. Okay, let me do my router now while I'm at it. Okay, so this is the connection that I need to set the address, the IP address of the local network, which was I said it was going to be 172.16.0.1. Perfect. Okay, and so now I've configured that. Okay, let's go back to this computer. So you can see why it's important to put a plan together, because you've got to remember all of these numbers. 0.10. Putting that in the wrong box. Let's put that down here, like that. There we go. And let's set the gateway 172.16.0.1. Good. And then last one, tick that box. 172.16.0. Let's go 15. And let's set the gateway. Now, of course, this is a bit of a faff if you had a network with 500 computers on it, you wouldn't really want to be setting all of these details manually. And so there are ways that you don't have to do that. Obviously, if you go into a coffee shop, you don't have to type in all of these details into your settings on your operating system. Right, so I've set that up right. Even if I've made a mistake, I'm going to test it in a moment. So I think that looks okay. So both sides are set up all right. Okay, so what about this internal network? So I've got this cable here. So I need to remember that this has got 2 Ethernet ports on it. So I've already configured the IP address for this side, but I need to configure the IP address for this side because remember this is its own separate network. So right, let me flick back to my pictures. Let's just have a quick look. So 34.52.21. Okay, so I'll set the IP addresses 34.52. I can't remember what it was, but that will be okay. I'll set that one as .1. Okay, so that is, which one did I do that one for? That one, there it is, 34.52.21. And again, I need to tick automatic routing on this side because I've not done that yet. 34.52.21.1. Okay, so this needs to be different. So this is going to be 34.52.21.2. So, right, that's the cable. You can see it highlights it usefully. So 34.52.21.2, was that right? I think it was. Let me just double check. 34.52.21.2. 34.52.21.1. Okay, so these Ethernet ports on each side are on their own sort of like mini network, if you like. So I've got sort of like 3 networks. So I've got this network, the one in the middle, and then this one. And the routers are what transfer the packets or route the packets between the different networks. Right, so that seems pretty good. I'm just going to use the pencil tool, drag out some text, because it's important to sort of like label things. So I'm going to say that this network is 192.168.0.0. It's the name of the network. And then let's do the same in the middle. So that was network 34.52.21.0 with this one number 1, this one number 2. I think that was right. And then on this side, we're going to go network 172.16.0.5. Oh, not .5, .0. There we go. Right, I think that's it. Let's test it to see how it goes. So let's press the play button. Okay, proof is going to come in the pudding. So let's pick this computer here. Okay, let's put the command line on. That's going to allow us to check to see whether it's all working. Okay, right, there's the command line for that computer, 172.16.0.15. There we go. You can see it up there as well. Okay, so if I just type ipconfig, that should just show me the settings for that computer. Okay, so it shows me the IP address, 15. The subnet mask or the net mask is fine. It's got its physical MAC address, and we've got the gateway, 172.16.0.1, which is this here, hopefully. Right, so first things first, let's try pinging a computer on the same network. So let's ping 172.16.0.5. That's right. Okay, you can see, look at the action going. Okay, it's replying absolutely fine. So that's good. Let's just do 10 while we're at it. So okay, that's great. Right then, let me see if I can ping the router on this side. So 172.16.0.1. So I'm pinging essentially the IP address, the network port on this side. So ping 172.16.0.1. So hopefully this should light up here. We're getting a reply. You can see that there. Okay, so I've pinged that IP address on that network interface card. Let me try pinging the one on this side. So that is 34.52.21.1. So ping 34.52.21.1. Okay, so that one's replying as well. So that's good. And you can see it just sort of lights up the connection to this here. Okay, so I'm systematically checking all of my connectivity between my devices. And let's just have a quick look at the ARP table. Okay, so my ARP table's got a few more things in it now as well. So it's got the other computers in and their MAC addresses, so that's good. But for the router, it hasn't put those in because, of course, it's using the. But when it gets to 172.16.0.1, once it gets to that point, it's no longer using sort of like the MAC address. So remember, the ARP address is for like local area networks, so that's fine. Okay, so let's try pinging this network port on this side. So that's 34.52.21.2. Okay, look, you can see the green is pinging it. Okay, all right, let's try pinging this side. So that's 192.168.0.1. So 192.168.0.1. Yes, okay, we're looking good. So we can ping both sides of this router. We can ping both sides of this router. So that's good. So let's try pinging this machine up here. So ping 192.168.0.10. Okay, so a computer that's on a completely different network. There we go. Look, we can see it happening. Okay, so let's try number 11. Okay, we might have full connectivity on this network, which would be good. And number 12. Bingo, fantastic. So there we go. We've used a router or two routers to connect two local area networks to each other, if you like. And that's essentially, if you think about there being routers, more routers in this center section, this is how like the internet works. So these three computers could be in a business in Manchester. These three computers could be in a house in Australia. And of course, in the middle here, we've just got lots of routers which route the traffic in the correct direction to get to their destination. So I hope that's been interesting and useful. Why don't you have a go at creating it yourself? Okay, and in the next videos, I'll do some more complicated stuff. Thanks for watching.